What a great group we have, and from all over the world. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to go over a few slides that I have prepared, and then we will talk a lot. And it won't be just me, it'll be all of us. I'm not here to talk to you, I'm here to talk with you. So delighted to have that opportunity. So let's get going with this. What I'm going to do is share a lot of the work that I've been involved with creating. And I want to really focus on resources, because that's kind of how we shared this presentation and what this discussion would include today. But just for outcomes of this next few minutes, would like to help identify how to utilize and apply the Nurses on Boards Coalition resources. And we'll talk about some of these to enhance your leadership competencies, and to provide personal mentorship for leadership and board service, any questions, and help you plan. I personally will be happy to do that. And then to facilitate a discussion to move this work forward. So that's kind of my hopes for the next few minutes and what we can accomplish during this cafe today. So I would just start by saying, it all started here. Now, is anybody, I know we can't probably raise hands, can't see them too well, but open your, oops, it went back. Open your mic and say if you know anything about remembering this book. So for anybody who's real new into nursing, you may not have, but does anybody remember this book, The Future of Nursing, Leading Change and Advancing Health? Came out from, yes, the Institute of Medicine, a long time ago now, about 13 probably years ago. It was 2010 to 2020. And in this book, there was a real focus on what nursing should do to improve what we do. And one of those things was that nurses should get more involved in policymaking and speaking out and using our experience and our knowledge for good. And so that was really the impetus to pulling a whole group of national nursing organizations together. And in doing that, was at the time the Center to Champion Nursing in America, which was funded by AARP and excuse me, oh, I got a cough. Oh, I'm sorry, got a dry spot. To really pull nursing together and to move things forward. So the Center Champion Nursing in America brought together 21 national nursing organizations, all the big ones. You mentioned Sigma a while ago, Sigma, ANA, AONL, AANC, all of the big NLN, I could go on and on, 21, all the biggies came together and were brought together to say, what could we do to work on that one recommendation from this book, which was to improve the voice of nursing in healthcare being provided across the country. And that group, there was a representative of each of those organizations. I was there at the table from the very beginning, and as we say, in the room where it happened, if we happen to like Broadway and that Hamilton show. But at that time, those 21 organizations agreed to work together on one thing. And that's never happened before. This was the first time that has ever happened, that all of those nursing organizations were working on any one thing. And we agreed to work together to form an organization called the Nurses on Boards Coalition, and created the mission of improving the health of communities through the service of nurses on boards and other governing bodies. Now, originally, back in the day when this happened in 2014, we said in our nation. But since that time, we've removed in our nation, because as you can tell by this group today, we're way outside of just this nation, right? We have representation even on this call of people all over the world. And so it's important that we share this work internationally, and we've really begun to do that as we've created our new strategic plan moving forward for Nurses on Boards Coalition. We have a whole international focus that I'm leading with that, and it's really something that needs to happen everywhere. And so the concept is to improve the care that's going on across this world. And we all talk about social determinants of health and how can we improve social determinants of health? Well, if we work together and we get nurses into the positions where we are using our voices and sharing our experiences, we can absolutely make a difference in that. The definition of board service, with our concept is that any group or individuals that have strategic influence to improve the health of communities and the nation and outside of the nation. And this includes any corporate, governmental, nonprofit, advisory, or governance boards or appointments that have fiduciary and or strategic responsibilities. And I heard Yasmin talking about doing just that in her community, in her country. So these are the kinds of things that really make a difference. And we've got to have the nursing voice at these tables. No question about it in my mind. So today, this is, 13 years later now almost. This was the newest book that came out in 2020 to 2030, but it didn't come out till 2020, almost two. But this was now, and the Institute of Medicine has now changed its name to the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. So if you've seen this book, say, yeah, I know that book. This is the one that's moving us forward in the next step, in the next stage. And it was really exciting to us to see that articles that had been written and disseminated regarding the work of nurses on boards, many of which I authored, were pointed out specifically in, I see some thumbs up here for people who know about the new book. On page 282, they specifically reference some of the work that we've done on Nurses on Boards Coalition and how important that work has been. And so it was really exciting to have some of those articles referenced in this newest book. But it just goes to show that the work is important. It was important in the first Institute of Medicine Future of Nursing book, and is just as important and remains just as important in the second round of that as we move forward. So as we talk about what can we do, I think it's important to just maybe start with sharing some resources that are available to you and to anyone that Nurses on Boards has created. We've developed these. We give them away freely. Very little of, and the only thing that Nurses on Boards charges anybody for, as far as resources are concerned, are things that give you credentialing. And so we have now 2 courses that you can take that through the NLN that you actually can get credentialed, like language in the nursing language in the boardroom, and a couple of competency programs that are credentialed, and those cost about $100. But everything else for Nurses on Boards is free. So I'll start with the nursing models, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen these or has had any knowledge of them, but historically I can share that back in the day when we started Nurses on Boards Coalition, and I was the first leader, one of the first leaders of the organization. I co-chaired at the beginning when we put it together the leadership of NOBC with Dr. Marla Weston, who at that point was the CEO of the ANA, American Nurses Association. And we kind of kicked it all off as the start. Then we moved into a business entity of our own, and we had to have a board of directors, and we had one chair of the board. And so at that point, then I became chairman of the board. So there have been several chairmen of the board since me. And so I now have the title Chair Emeritus of the Board of Directors of Nurses on Boards Coalition. But back when we were starting it, we were gathering data. We did a lot of data collection. And one of the things that we did was a survey. And we did a national survey of about 120 nurse leaders across the nation, across the US nation. And we asked them a specific set of questions with regard to competencies. And what competencies did they either have that they think were really important and needed in order to serve successfully on a board, or what competencies do they wish they had had when they joined a board? And so we gathered all of that data, and we really started looking at it seriously to say, okay, what do we need to do? Well, if these are the competencies that you need, how can we help people get those competencies? So the very first model that we created was this one. And this was our board competencies model. And I will show you where to find these online here in a bit. But the board competencies model really takes all of those competencies that everybody shared, and it puts them in 3 buckets. And those 3 buckets are self-leadership, organizational leadership, and then civic and professional leadership. So as you can see on this model in the circular area at that top third, the self-leadership, it's things that we do to take care of ourselves. Put your own mask on first before you help others. And we as nurses know very well how to take care of ourselves so that we can help others. And so we've got to learn lifelong learning, personal, professional accountability, principles of governance, principles of management. We just have to gain those competencies. And at that point, we're learning more about ourselves and what do we have that we can give to others and share with others that will be important and help make a difference as decisions are being made in a boardroom. And then there's another set, a bucket, and those are our organizational leadership ones. Those would be on the right-hand lower section of this. And those are mission-driven financial acumen. And finances is a big thing for boards, and that's something that frightens people a lot. They say, I don't know enough about finances to serve on a board. Well, I can promise you, you do. You can handle your own personal finances. You can look with intelligence at finances of a board or any kind of organization or council on which you serve. But learning, talent development, how do you do change management, process improvement, quality improvement, all those kinds of things, as you can see them listed here, that's when we start reaching out of our own environment and into others. And what we would liken that to is if you're in a staff nurse role in a hospital or a healthcare setting at the lower level, you would be taking care of self-leadership. You're learning where everything is. You're learning how to handle your own experiences and your own expectations. And then once you get that down pat, you're going to the organizational leadership. That's when you might be placed on a shared governance committee where you get more involved outside of your unit and outside of your daily activities to do something for the organization that is bigger than you. And then the third group, once you get those organizational skills down pat, we get into the civic and professional leadership role. And that's when you become more of a high-level influencer. You're an innovative thinker. You have political prowess. You legal and regulatory and policy, you've got that more under control and you really understand it. And that you can get involved then at the national, regional, or community perspective. And so you have a good sense for all of that. So we sort of just bucketed all of those concepts of the competencies into these three groups. And then after that was completed, we moved to creation of this model, which was done from, if you know who Patricia Benner is, and the novice to expert model that's her model, Patricia Benner's model. We used the novice to expert model of Patricia Benner to create this board readiness model. And so if you look at this, it would demonstrate that if you start at the bottom where you see novice at the bottom, those are those self-leadership skills. They're the exact same skills. We just copied the words onto this model. And if you are in that category with skill level, then we would say that you are prepared for or ready to serve on advisory or community boards. So smaller in your community, those are the skills you have, you're probably not ready for the Fortune 500 paid positions on boards, but you are ready to serve on advisory groups within your community, like the Boys and Girls Club, the pet facilities where they take shelters, pet shelters, community places of faith and worship in your churches, in your neighborhood associations, school boards, those kinds of things. And then if you move into the next category, you see that second category, those organizational governance category of competencies. And when you're ready for that, that's when you get involved outside to bigger boards, more important boards, more strategic boards. Perhaps you're getting appointed to something at the state or national, regional level that's an appointment to a specific position or role or board. And then the third one is taking those to the expert level when you got it down pat. You really know what you're doing. You got your arms around it. You're very comfortable in a boardroom. You're comfortable speaking out. You're comfortable sharing your experiences and your expertise with others. And that's what we would consider the expert level, where you're ready for the big boards and you're ready to really take your voice to the tables that are making big differences at the national level, perhaps even international level. And that's exciting for us to do as well. These are the times and the places where you might be on a board that actually pays you to share your experience and your expertise. Now, I would say very clearly that these go up and down. We're not always in any one of these boxes. Many times we bounce back and forth between these three levels. For example, you may be on a board and you know very well what's going on in that board, and then you move to a different board and it's a little bit bigger with a little bit of different experience, a little bit of maybe a totally different financial reporting system, which is new to you. And so you might bounce from being an expert in one thing back down to a novice in something else. But you can fix that very quickly. You just get some help in order to do that. And so if you do that, you are ready to move into this model, which is our third model. And the third model is preparation for board success. And it looks like it, for some reason, this messed up the little red circle, bumped success to 2 lines. So I'm sorry for that. I'm not sure why that happened. But this concept is for us as nurses who serve in any kind of a board or appointment, the ability to get help. And so these are 4 specific roles that we would outline that say, here's how you get help. Here's how you learn more and you prepare yourself better in order to know these things and understand the work that you need to do on a board. So they all start at the top left with preceptor. And we can liken that to a staff nurse as well. On a floor, your first job, you move into an organization and you're working as a staff nurse at the bedside, and you get assigned to a preceptor. Now, that person is not likely chosen by you. You're assigned to somebody. That person has expert at specific content, and they need to teach you that content. Like where's the emergency cart that you need, and how do you work the Pyxis, and where's the bathroom, and where do you go get food, and what are the break times, and those kinds of things. It's specific information that you need to know. It's time limited. They just teach you what you need to know, and you say thank you very much, and then you move on. And you may or may not keep any kind of relationship with that person. It's kind of a one-time thing. That's our preceptor model. And the same goes for boards. You're brand new on a board. You may be assigned to someone else. If you're lucky, you're assigned to someone that's already on the board to kind of help you understand the culture of the board and when are the meetings, and what do people say and do, and when do we expect that you will receive the packet of information that you need to read every word of before the next board meeting, and that kind of thing. Then another role that you may need is a mentor. And a mentor is totally different than a preceptor. Many people use mentor for all of these things, which we think is incorrect. We think that the mentor role is very different from a coach or a sponsor or a preceptor. And we see the mentor role as a voluntary relationship. It's a trusted advisor for a long-term period of time, chosen by both sides, saying, I want to work with you, I want to learn from you, I want you to help me develop myself so that I can move forward. And with that relationship, it's a wonderful thing. It usually works both ways. There's a mentor and a mentee, and you each teach each other things. And especially if it's multi-generational, because I know I have learned so much from those who are have come after me. They have a different experience level. They know things I don't know, and I love to learn from younger people. And so this mentor-mentee relationship is something that's very important, and it works very well when you're serving on a board or wanting to prepare yourself to serve on a board. The next one is coach, and a coach is likened to sports or athletics. It's very goal-oriented. They're going to teach you to do something better, something that you need to learn is specific about a specific situation. And that might be finance. It might be, how do you read the financial reports of that particular board? because all of their boards and organizations present their finances different. They just look different. It's all the same information, but the way that they present it and put it out is different in many instances. So they would help you learn a specific thing at a specific time. It's a skilled observer who watches you and says, but if you do this, it might help you. And if you, for example, if you get on a board and you're not really sure what you should say or when you should say it, what's your role in talking, because on that board, people just don't talk much. You might need to find a coach, someone else that's on that board, or maybe not on that board, that you can share what's happening and help that person give you examples of how you might be able to better yourself in order to be more successful. And then the fourth one is the best of all. That's the sponsor. And if you're lucky enough to have a sponsor, you're lucky enough. A sponsor is somebody who just deeply cares about you. It's a door opener. They will introduce you to people. They sing your praises. They tell everybody how wonderful you are. They open opportunities. These would be the people who would nominate you for the American Academy of Nursing. So for those of us who have been inducted into the American Academy of Nursing, we all had a sponsor. And that's somebody who puts their neck on the line to say, I think that Becky Sarsnick, I'm sorry, I didn't hear how that was pronounced appropriately, but Becky. I think Becky is the person that you should put on your board because she is excellent. She's very articulate. She brings data as well as her experience and stories to the table, and she is the person that you need to make your board better. So that would be the sponsor role. And all of them are important, and they're all different, and we might need each one of them at a different time in our level of getting prepared and getting all the resources that we need in order to be successful as we serve on a board or in an appointment of any kind. These are just resources that are available, and I'm going to take you to the website here and show you where they are so that we can start talking about some of this. But it's examples of what's available to you. There's a board readiness model where if you say, I'm not really sure what I'm ready to do yet, and you can go to that board readiness assessment model, and it will take you through questions, and here's the questions, and you answer those questions, and by doing so, it will help you know what kind of a board you're ready to serve on. The competency models that I just shared are all online and available to you. Getting on board is a step-by-step action plan from assessment to board placement. And a lot of these have been resources have been created by other organizations for us and with us in partnership. So we've had a lot of people working on the opportunities to create resources for people that are free to you at any point in time. Another board simulation meeting is interesting to watch. If you never say, I've never been in a board meeting, what happens in a board meeting? This was a simulated board meeting. And so it's a good way to get a sense for what happens in a board meeting. These are really good resources here. This is Empowering Nurse Leaders to Impact Community Through Board Service. And it is a whole set of documents that you can go through. It's workbooks, and you can really learn a lot by working your way through all of these sections. It wouldn't take a long time. You could probably do it on a Saturday morning. But this information is all available to you as well on the Nurses on Boards Coalition website at no cost as a free resource to you. So you might ask, what can I do right now? We would say you can step up and be counted. You can indicate your interest in future board service. And what we would encourage everybody to do is to register into our database on Nurses on Boards Coalition. And that website is right here, and I'm going to show it to you in just a minute, but nursesonboardscoalition.org. Feel free to go to it on your cell phone right now while we're talking if you'd like. Encourage your colleagues to register in our database. If you register, it's going to ask you that you do serve now, and if you do serve on a board of any kind, it'll ask you to fill out certain fields. What's the name of the board? What kind of a board is it? Where is it? What's your term of length of service for the board? If you say, I don't serve on a board, then it's going to say, do you want to serve on a board? And if you do, then it'll take you to a second set of fields of questions that ask about what your interests are. And then by doing so, you would be in the database of the Nurses on Boards Coalition. You would begin to get an email once a month about Nurses on Boards and the work that we're doing, a list of people who have just entered their information and sharing that they're serving on boards. You would also begin to get emails about board opportunities that are available that they think you might qualify for or you might be interested in. So you can opt out at any point in time, but it is a good way to gain information if you think you may have any interest in getting involved in board service or want any help in doing that. There's also an opportunity to share your story, and we use those a lot. Nurses on Boards Coalition, we have a speakers bureau, and we're asked to speak all over the country and internationally about the work that we do. And we share these stories. So you're asked, can your story be used? And we openly share stories that people have talked about. And so the thing that I love is that they're all levels. We have all levels of stories. We have stories from people who serve on Fortune 500 boards and get paid big bucks for doing it. We have nurses sharing stories that they serve on hospital boards or hospital system boards, and the positive, that comes from that. We also have stories of staff nurse level, beginning nurses who are serving on a youth sports league. And my favorite one is a story of a young male staff nurse, bedside nurse, whose wife convinced him that he should be on the board of their youth baseball league for their children, because it would be a good thing to make some changes maybe in the sports event that the kids play in. And he got on that board, and in one season, they had more helmets for the little kids that play baseball. So each child had his or her own helmet. And so we didn't pass head lice to head lice to head lice. And you who have been around small children can understand that concept. And they had bats that were aluminum rather than wood and didn't break and fly off into the crowd to injure someone else. And they had an AED on site at every one of their fields where they played the baseball, which is a wonderful thing in the environment in which we live in. Sometimes grandparents like me get very excited. And so it would be wonderful to have the opportunity to have those kinds of things available. So it just goes to show you, you don't have to be a senior level executive nurse in order to make a difference in what you do. And then we would always encourage people to share the mission of NOBC anywhere you are in your workplace, your classroom, with others that you care about. And engage in your own way to support your commitment toward increasing the number of nurses who serve in governance roles of any kind to improve health equity and the social determinants of health where you are, where you live, work, and worship. So this is what the Nurses on Boards Coalition website looks like, and I'm going to take you to it here. But before we do that, does anybody have questions that you want to ask before we just take a quick run through the resources that are available on the website? Does anybody have a question? And then we'll open it up for discussion. Any questions? No? Okay, well, I'm going to unshare, and then I'm going to share the website, and we'll go live there, and then I'll go back to this. So if I unshare that, and I'm going to go live to the website and share that. Okay, are you seeing the website to improve health of the communities? Nurses on Boards Coalition? Can somebody verify that you're seeing it? Say yes or thumbs up or no. Okay,
yep,
thank you. Got it. Okay, all right. So this is the website, it's the home of our website. You can see there are lots of places to look across here. I'm going to try to get rid of this. There we go. So I can see the upper level navigation. So with about us, that's what this is. That's what it opens to, and it talks about what we do and who we are. You can register that, and if you want to register, that's what I talked about, entering yourself in the database. So this is for nurses. I, Kimberly Harper, registered nurse, want to register in the database. The red one is to find a nurse for a board. So that's for someone, and we encourage it both directions. We encourage boards to talk to us about helping find them people to serve on their boards. So it goes, what we do a match, so to speak, with that organization. So we've got the register or to find a nurse for your board. So if you want to register, you just go in to click on register. It says be counted, and it will ask you for your information. You just work your way through the field. And that's what I referred to before. So if we go back, and the same with find a nurse for your board, it would be for an organization that's looking for a nurse. And then honor roll is where we talk about people who have served, and it's an organized effort by nurses on boards to really honor people who have worked diligently to serve on boards. And so you just nominate somebody to be in the honor roll, and then you make a donation to our organization. It can be, as low as $25 or something. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. And then that person gets listed on honor roll. Education is another, the education part is opportunities for people to learn. This is the language in the boardroom that I spoke about. It's through the League for Nursing, the National League for Nursing, and it's a course that you actually take and you pay money for. It's $195. Apologize, I said the wrong amount. And these are the benefits of getting that. And then you can preview the courses if you'd like, and then you can take that. Then be counted, that's putting yourself into the registered database again. And I want to serve, that's when you say, I want to serve on a board, and here's what kind of board I'm interested in. Here's all the things about me. Resources is what I really want to focus on. Resources for nurses, that is where you would go to find all the things that I talked about. So we've got all these documents, and as you can see, what's green are things that you can click into. Competencies, cover letter guides, preparation for educational resources, the Get on Board program that I talked about, board readiness assessment. It's all right there. And all you have to do is click on it, and it's free for the taking. And then these are educational presentations and webinars, and they're linked to them. So you can watch these presentations or read all of these articles, which come up here. We've got articles, book chapters, and you can see that, many of us have authored a great deal of articles, a lot of dissemination of our work. So you can see all of these down through there. Any link will take you, the green will take you right to it. So you can read any of that. These are blogs that we put. So again, there's a multitude of resources available to you at no cost and available in any way. Everyone have a wonderful day. Be well.